This is a different species of woodpecker, also one that occurs in the area here. And it's called a cardinal woodpecker. One way to distinguish that from the Bennett's woodpecker is actually cardinal woodpecker is a little bit smaller than the Bennett's woodpecker. And as you can see, it doesn't have spots on the front, it has stripes. And also the head and the cheeks look a little bit different. But I chose this picture actually not so much to be able to distinguish between a cardinal and a Bennett woodpecker, but just have a look at the way this woodpecker is sitting on the tree. Look at the feet here. It has 2 toes forward and 2 toes backward, which actually gives it a way to have a very tight grip on the tree. And then the other thing is to make a nice little strong thing. The feathers in the tail of the woodpecker, they are especially strong, stronger than with many other birds, and that way it can actually say it has a support here, it holds on tight there, and then when it hits the tree, actually then it can hit it with a real good force. So that's the way woodpeckers have adapted to be able to bore into trees to make their nests, and also to look for food, grubs and little larvae and little caterpillars and things like that. And that's actually what, as I was looking at the web and some research and reading some books now today, what struck me, there is the tongue of the woodpecker is especially adapted to actually finding those grubs. Once it bores a hole with its beak to get through the bark or to get into the wood of the tree, the grubs typically have quite a long, what do you call that? Maybe a gangway or a what do you see now? My English just deserts me for a minute. Like a corridor almost in the wood. So it could be away from the hole, but maybe quite some distance. And so it's going to be even difficult for the woodpecker to catch it. Now, my question that I'm gonna repeat it at the end of the show is that in which 2 ways is actually the tongue of the woodpecker especially adapted to the way it catches its food? And I'm going to come back on that on one of the shows next week, maybe Monday or maybe Friday. I will see how the schedule allows it. But yeah, that's going to be my question, my viewer challenge question for today. So, in which way is the woodpecker's tongue 2 ways adapted to the special way in which it catches its food? So I hope you can give me the answer to that and find the answer. It's going to be, I promise you, if you go look it up, it's quite fascinating. So there we are again. Another friend that we find around camp quite often, and this actually surprised me in the beginning, because I always knew nyalas as very skittish and nervous animals. But even as we move around camp, nyalas, older nyalas, even little baby nyalas, they just go around their business, they browse. I'm not going to go into details about nyalas too much. I just want to show them as one of our camp buddies, because nyalas are not really small things, and often they're seen on drives and discussed in more detail there. But I just want to show you a couple of pictures to show you how they share our camp with us. So this is the first one. This is an adult nyala male, which you can see is a dark grayish, slate grayish color, as opposed to the females and the younger males. Peter is in the background there having a look at it and having some jokes, and so the nyala is between us, but it's still quite relaxed about that. And this is, as I promised, we're going to have a picture of an animal with our washing line behind it, but unfortunately it's not Karula. That's going to have to wait for another time. So this is a younger male, as you can see from the horns, and still you can also see the coloration is much more like the coloration that the females and the young animals have. And this is an even younger male. I really love this picture. It's like, who's watching me? What do you want from me? And these 2 little bars with the breaker, that's also typical for a nyala. It's very beautiful. Another non-hairy friend again. I'm not going to go again into too much detail about this one, because that's going to be for another episode. It's called the striped skink. It's a reptile, just as the gecko is. It's from the lizard family, but as opposed to the gecko, which lays eggs, this actually bears live young. So there's a lot of interesting differences in there as well. I really like this picture, if I say so myself. I took that at the swimming pool last week. What was it? On Wednesday, I think, when we had a power outage and we couldn't go out for the drive on time. It was still hot. I took the opportunity to take a quick dip at the pool, and that's coming back to my point. Even while you're having a dip at the pool, at the edge of the pool, there's so many little animals that just also want to use the water or other things. This is a dragonfly. It's called a red basker, and it's just such a beautiful little animal. I think it's only maybe 2-3 centimeters long. But yeah, I love it, the way they sit down. One way also to distinguish, you've got dragonflies and damselflies, which in many ways are very similar. One easy way to distinguish them, if they sit at rest like this one, dragonflies hold their wings like this, spread out, where damselflies actually hold their wings folded upwards. So that's an easy way of if you want to go look it up, to know at least whether you have to search with the dragonflies or the damselflies. And now I want to actually close off this episode, at least as a last camp buddy. And this is also something I'm definitely going to come back on. I got a question from somebody already. The name just now slipped out for a minute. About, they call it the Red River ants, which is actually quite a fascinating species of ant, because once it moves nest, there's so many ants that walk over a certain area that almost looks like a red river. And once they move nest, it's enormous amounts of ants, and they clean up after themselves. Any ants that die along the way, they get carried away, and 20 minutes later there's no trace of them again. It's fascinating. I saw that once when I was in Mohoa Hollow, just the animal rehabilitation center here. It's fascinating to watch. So yeah, I'm definitely going to come back on ants in a later stage, but I just want to close off our camp buddies now with, again, something I finished actually while standing in the swimming pool, so keeping my head cool and nice and getting a nice low angle. And it's a group of ants that actually they're moving a bug that they found, a dead bug, towards their nest. And what I really like about this is the bug is so much bigger than the ants, but you can see how they work together, and almost as if they have a plan. It's not like they're mindless little creatures just walking around. They try this, if they can't move it like this, they try the other way. But let me stop talking about it and just show you. I find this really fascinating footage, but I would be interested to hear what you think of this. So just as a matter of scale, the bricks that they are walking on are just normal bricks that you also use for house building. And yeah, that other part is just a little cement in between. I think from the little cement part in reality is about 1 centimeter. So just to give you an idea of the shape. But just look at how, if they can't move it, they pull an antenna, the one other end moves around. It's fascinating. How can a little animal like that just, they must have a plan of some kind. And this was actually the second boundary they had to cross. The first one took them about 5 minutes, but the second one is almost like they learned. It went a lot faster than that. And apart from the coordination, imagine the relative strength these ants must have. Okay, it doesn't move, so let's pull on the other side. Yeah, there. Okay, there we go. Another helper. Fascinating.